let's break it down for you and get the details for our viewers. This is 3 different sites in Iran that have been hit. Fordow, one of the most significant nuclear sites, as well as Natanz and Isfahan. These are the 3 sites which have been hit by the United States. Deep within Iran, about 100 to 300 kilometers from Tehran. Let's break down why each of these sites are very, very significant. Fordow, like we mentioned, as our expert was also mentioning, has the uranium being purified to 60%, very, very close to making it nuclear ready at 90%, and that was the reason why this was very significant. It is a much smaller facility compared to Natanz. Natanz is a much bigger facility. Fordow in particular was the biggest target. It has been in existence since 2009, or the world at least didn't know about it until 2009. Iran had kept it a secret, but this was buried deep inside, which is why it is not going to be captured even on satellite imagery, the kind of damage that could have been done, because it is said to be about 250 to 300 feet below the ground, which is why even satellite imagery will not be able to capture any damage that has been done. So let's tell you how the United States was actually able to hit these sites. It was out of reach for Israel. Israel had previously hit these sites but was not able to manage significant damage. So what the United States has done is use the deadly B-2 stealth bomber, which can carry 2 GBU-57 MOP bombs. Now let's tell you why these bombs are significant. These are massive ordnance penetrator or bunker buster. That's the reason why it's important, because this is an aircraft that can carry up to 30,000 pounds of bombs. It can carry that kind of a payload, which is why only the United States could have hit these sites. So the GBU-57 is designed to destroy deeply buried targets. So these are targets that are well underground, hidden behind mountain. So there are challenges which only the United States could have hit. So it could penetrate up to 200 feet of earth, which is why it is believed that significant damage would be done, with the US President Donald Trump even going on to say that the sites have been obliterated completely. So the B-2 is also very difficult to detect. It is designed in a way that it becomes very difficult to detect on radar, and the payload capacity is 40,000 pounds, which is very, very significant. So it is a long-range capability without any refueling. It can go up to long targets, which is why it was picked by the United States, with precision munitions and the high payload, like we mentioned. So it is advanced radar evading design, which means it becomes very, very difficult to even note it in the radar. This was the reason why the United States used this design. In fact, Mr. George continues to stay with us, and I want to ask about the significance of these sites as we spoke, and also on the retaliation of Iran. I want to ask you on the capabilities of Israel military versus the Iran military.
Yeah, so again, one of the biggest concerns of Israel for many years regarding Iran was not just Iran's military capability, but Hezbollah on the northern border of Israel, southern border of Lebanon. And over the past several months, Israel has taken out a lot of Hezbollah's capability, as well as what happened with the change of regimes in Syria and the fall of Assad, and taking out a lot of the Syrian capabilities that were a threat as well. So we've eliminated a lot of the proxy threats. When it comes to the Iranian military, as I mentioned before, a lot of the estimates are about 50 to 60% of the missile launchers and their missile capability has been eliminated. We've been taking out not just drones as they've been flying. Israel has also been taking out the drone factories, which, as an aside, may also cut off some of the supply to President Putin, who's been using Iranian drones in the war with Ukraine, but that's a whole other discussion. So Israel has been spending 10 days degrading Iran's capability to respond. We will see in the next, I would assume, 24 to 48 hours how Iran does respond. And if it's a more muted response, I think we can infer from that that Israel has taken out a large percentage of its military response capability. So everyone is waiting a little bit with bated breath to know what Iran can do, if they will do anything, or if this has been a strong enough signal to the Iranian regime to say, now's the time to come to the negotiating table and find a long-term solution.
Okay, just a moment. We have breaking updates coming in. As you were speaking about what the response of Iran is going to be, Iran has now officially declared war. Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says the war has begun. All U.S. personnel in the region are now legitimate targets after the strikes on nuclear sites. All along, Iran was, although countering Israel, was not targeting any of the U.S. military sites. Now Iran says all U.S. personnel in the region, Pranesh, are legitimate targets after the strikes on the nuclear sites.
You know, taking off from what Mr. George was telling us, that it'll be foolhardy on part of Iran to actually now take on the might of Israel and America now that they've officially, joined the war together. But Mr. George, we are talking about the three sites. Now, much has been said and discussed about Natanz already. How significant or critical is Fordow, the underground nuclear facility that they have?
Yeah, every intelligence has always said that Fordow is probably the most significant due to the fact that it's so deep in the ground, the number of centrifuges that are there, the enrichment capability that is there, that was the greatest threat, that Iran was not allowing the more vulnerable enrichment sites to really be the focus of their efforts precisely because they were so vulnerable. And that's not to say that Isfahan and Natanz were not significant. They were, and that's why we've been focusing on those as well. But Fordow was the most significant, probably had the greatest amount of enrichment capability, and that's why President Trump decided to do what he did this evening. Listen, this is historic. What your viewers are watching tonight, what we're all watching this morning, is historic. This is, I would liken it to Reagan and Thatcher taking down the Soviet Union, the evil, and removing that evil from the world. This is two countries, Israel and the U.S., eliminating, hopefully, what was a real threat, not just to regional stability, but to global stability. I understand that Western Asia is significant to the Indian people and to the Indian government, but Iran was, developing missiles that you could put a war on that would reach Europe and as well as New York, and so, and we've seen what they've done with their proxies around the world. So this is a historic moment for us to be witnessing. I do believe that we will look back years from now and realize just how much safer the world is,
Mr. George,
because of what happened today.
Right. Ambassador Prabhu Dayal is also joining us, but before I bring him in, one quick question for you, Mr. George, is this. Now, US is saying that we don't want regime change. Prime Minister Bibi has been very clear that he wants a regime change. How does that work?
Well, what the Prime Minister of Israel wants regarding Iran and what the President of the United States wants regarding Iran when it comes to its leadership is less important than what the Iranian people want. Listen, Israel has to live with Iran as its neighbor. Israel has seen what a difference leadership can make, whether it was with Anwar Sadat making peace with Israel and Menachem Begin, whether it was the King of Jordan making peace, whether it was the Abraham Accords with the UAE and other countries making peace with Israel. The leadership makes a difference. And so I have no doubt that, whether the President of the United States says he wants regime change or not, I believe that he wants what Israel wants, which are leaders in the Middle East that want to live side by side with the state of Israel in peace and do what's best to enrich their people's own lives as opposed to threatening war and funding Islamic terrorist proxies around the world.
Okay, we have some breaking updates coming in, Ambassador Dayal. I'm coming to you.
Yes, condemning the United States strike on Iran, Hamas has said that it is confident Iran will defend itself. Hamas issuing a statement condemning the U.S. strike against Iran's nuclear facilities. They say, and I quote, "This brutal aggression constitutes a dangerous escalation and a blind adherence to the agenda of the rogue Zionist occupation." So Hamas has issued a statement. The terror group says that it holds the Trump administration and Israel fully responsible for the grave repercussions of this aggression. So, Mr. George, you spoke about the proxies. Hamas has issued a statement. Is the axis of resistance fully collapsed? They say that Tehran is going to respond. Who are the allies of Iran Yemen has also already announced that it is officially joining the war.
Listen, they can say what they want, and they can have all the rhetoric they want. The question will lie in what is the capability they have to stand behind their words. Hamas's capability really doesn't exist. Hezbollah has been greatly degraded. Syria doesn't exist anymore. The Houthis, we're not sure exactly how much of the missiles they have that were transferred by the Iranians they still have. The Iranian military capability has been greatly degraded over the past 10 days, and it will continue to be degraded as Israel continues its sorties over Iranian airspace. So the words have to be taken seriously, to be sure. But the question is, what actual capability do they have to stand behind those words? Again, as I said at the beginning of your broadcast with me, my biggest fear is not grand military responses from the Iranians or from its proxies. My biggest fear is the sleeper cells and terror cells they have planted around the world that might be acting now in terms of small acts of terrorism, but yet still significant in terms of the threat to human life. That's my greatest fear right now.
And, I'll discuss what brings them together, or, what drives them to, take this action on part of Iran. But before that, Ambassador Prabhu Dayal is with us. Sir, good morning. What do you make of what we are witnessing?
Well, I agree with Mr. George that firstly, the allies of Iran in the region have been weakened. In fact, their capacity to hit back has been practically totally neutralized. We are referring to the Hezbollah, to Hamas, and also to a great extent to the Houthis. They are not in a position to help Iran to hit back at the US and Israel as they may have been at one time. Secondly, I also agree with Mr. George that a regime change cannot be ruled out because this is what the United States and Israel want. Let me mention that I served as Deputy Ambassador in Iran in the early 1990s. I've also served as Consul General in New York, and I know firsthand how much of hostility there is between the regime of Iran and the establishment of the United States. They see each other as out-and-out enemies. Now, Iran has been considerably weakened. And although President Trump and the US administration may say we don't want a regime change, but let us not go by what they say. Let us not forget that President Trump had been saying that he needed 2 weeks to make up his mind about entering the war and that Iran had enough time, etc. And there were no 2 weeks given. The strike took place much, much quicker. So when there is war, there is all kinds of possibility of ruses. This whole setup is to weaken Iran and to knock out the regime. Let there be no doubt. There is great hostility between the regime in Iran and the US administration. And when I was posted in Iran, I used to hear chants all around, death to America, death to Israel. America was called the Great Satan and Israel was called the Little Satan. So given this hostility, the United States and Israel now have a chance to topple the regime. I don't rule it out. Of course, the Iranians have warned that any such action, any escalation at this stage would be met by action by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. But let us face it, Iranian capacity to hit back is severely weakened. Iran has been weakened beyond imagination. Its nuclear establishments have been destroyed. Its military sites have been destroyed. So the US and Iran and Israel may see this as an opportunity to hit really hard.
Ambassador Dayal, that could be the case that, Iran's nuclear capabilities have been considerably weakened after the barrage of strikes. But Srinjoy, correct me if I'm wrong here, that Iran still has the largest stockpile of missiles in the region that it can use to target US bases or, American interest in the region.
There are many, many American bases in the area. In Saudi Arabia, in Bahrain, in Oman, in Qatar, in Kuwait, and so on. Now, the question is, yes, Iran has these missiles. Iran has been raining missiles on Israel. but America and Israel have defensive capabilities, have air defense systems. The Iron Dome, of course, has been talked about a lot, but even American military establishments have air defense capabilities. One, yes, their stockpile of missiles may have been eroded. A lot have been used, a lot have been destroyed on the ground. But if you have air defense capabilities of the quality that you do in Israel and in these American bases in the Gulf, then while these missiles are potentially a threat, they may not be as successful for Iran as they could have been if America and Iran and Israel did not have the air defense capabilities as they do have.
You know, but Mr. George, what happens then to this